Hi everyone, this is Dr. Mike, host of the free iTunes podcast, Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike, but that's not why I'm here today. This is another Saving Savvy episode, and in this episode I'm going to do a super quick review on Dragon Medical, I think it's 2 point something, for Windows. Now if you may recall, I did a review on Dragon Medical for the Mac, and I wasn't that crazy about it. It made a lot of errors. I thought, is this my fault? Is this Dragon's fault? It just didn't work. And in fact, sometimes if I waited too long to go back to a document to proofread it, I didn't even know what I wrote. It was so mishmash. And it had a lot of other problems too. So the worst problem with Dragon for Mac was when Yosemite came out and it was not compatible, and it really took Nuance quite a while, especially if you're depending on that program, to come up with the replacement. And they didn't give you like a little patch. You had to buy a new program. Yes, they gave it at a discount price, but when you've already spent $1,000 on Dragon Medical and they want you to spend $400 for the upgraded version, it didn't feel very good. So what I did was I actually upgraded to the Dragon 4.0, just the regular one on my Mac. Still not very crazy about it, but I'm an old guy with hands that hurt after I type a while, and so I put up with it. However, in a different workplace where I'm employed, not a private practice, I have a window-based computer, and they've given me a very nice computer. It has a solid-state drive, and they offer to put Dragon Medical for Windows on that on that computer. And so I said, okay. And I am much happier with Dragon Medical for Windows. Now, is it perfect? No way. Does it make mistakes? Yes. Do I make mistakes? Probably. But it at least makes mistakes that I can figure out, and it makes less mistakes than the Mac version. So it's a usable piece of software. So I would say, generally speaking, what's the downside to that piece of software? It's incredibly expensive. I think if you're buying at retail, it's about $1,800. I'm sure corporations can get it at a discounted price if they're buying quantities or whatever, but still it's a very expensive piece of software. And so you really have to be dedicated to want to use that software, because you're putting out a big chunk of change for something that maybe if they come up with a new version of Windows, it's not going to work, because that's what happened with the Mac. So what are some tips I can give you? Well, if you're going to use the Windows version or any of the versions, first of all, I would suggest that you have a fast computer that has especially a fast hard drive, either a solid state drive or a pretty quick standard hard drive. I also would say that some things that you'd want to do is to talk in a somewhat faster pace. In the beginning, when I was using Dragon, I would say, hello, comma, how are you, question mark. And Dragon really prefers, hello, comma, how are you, question mark, I am fine, exclamation point. So to talk at a little quicker pace. When you do that, what you're going to find is there is a lag, which can be somewhat disconcerting, because you have to wait for it to appear on the screen, but overall you'll get better accuracy. And speaking of accuracy, remember, even though it says that it's naturally speaking, it's not that natural at all, because you have to add all of the little punctuation marks and other clues so Dragon knows what you're talking. So just in my last example, it was hello, comma, how are you, question mark. You have to put all that in. You also have to put in other things, like you might have to say, Sally is a 52-year-old female with bipolar 1, period. Well, instead of saying bipolar 1, you have to say bipolar Roman numeral 1, period. So you have to add that sort of information too. It's going to be very helpful if you have a little cheat sheet when you're starting to use Dragon. And simple things like new line, new paragraph, scratch that, select, and then put in what you want selected, spell that, cap that, are little commands that you're going to use over and over and over again. But in the beginning, you're not going to know exactly what they are, and it's going to make a lot of sense just to have them on a little card until you learn them. I would definitely recommend using a USB microphone, even if your Dragon comes with a regular plug-in microphone, because the USB microphones simply work better. Now, I have used inexpensive, under $20 cost microphones. I have used Sennheiser microphones that cost several $100s. In my private practice here, I'm using a wireless Logitech microphone. I can't really say that any one works better than the other, but definitely a USB mic works better than a plug-in microphone. The other thing that I'll tell you is that Dragon will offer to go into your documents and learn your style of writing. Definitely do that, and expect that Dragon will get better over time and you'll get better over time. Although, honestly, I still have to proof everything. And that's a factor that you have to add into your time equation. So even though I can talk a lot faster than I can type, I'm actually a pretty fast typist, I have to go through that document. So if I have a 4-page document that I've typed up, it's going to still take me maybe not as much time, but almost as much time as if I would have typed it, because yes, it's faster to dictate it, but then I'm going through line by line and adding things and removing things and changing things. And so it actually takes me roughly about the same time. So why do I bother to use it? Well, it saves my hands, because when I was just trying to type everything on my own as an old doctor, my hands would be incredibly sore and I would get shooting pains and all that other stuff that happens to little carpal tunnel issues. So by using the Dragon software, it saves me a lot of that, because corrections are a lot less difficult on your hands. So are there any other things that I could tell you about this? Basic commands, learn the lingo, talk in a fast pace. No, that's about it. And so definitely I think you need to think seriously if you're going to use the software or not, because the medical version is really crazy expensive. If your place of employment is willing to pay for that, that's awesome, and I definitely would go with the Dragon for medical, because you get that huge lexicon of medical terms, which really I think that's the big plus. If not, you might want to try Dragon, just the regular Dragon for Windows, import all your documents to get some of the vocabulary in there, and then just correct as you go. Eventually it's going to learn it. It's not going to be quite as smooth. So Dragon for Mac, still using it, not very crazy about it. Dragon for Windows, using it, like it a lot more. Your mileage may vary. Of course, this is all my personal opinion. It's not written in stone. So if you get some time, please give my free podcast a listen. It's called Psychiatric Secrets Revealed with Dr. Mike. You can find it on iTunes and other podcatching sites. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you like my video series, please subscribe. It's a mishmash of all sorts of information, whatever I have an interest in at the moment. And as always, have a great day. Bye.